Hello and welcome to Essentials to Heal Yourself. I'm Laura Lee Humphreys. So today's conversation is designed to help inspire you to think about yourself and your health situation in perhaps a broader way, and to help spark some ideas within you so that you can come to the conclusion that you have far more control and power over your health situation than what you may think you do. Okay, so to start off, then I'm going to ask you a few questions. So do you feel like you're just this total stress bomb about to explode? Or when you look at yourself in the mirror, then what comes to mind? What kind of thoughts come up, emotions come up? Are there areas about your body that you really don't like? And so there's lots of criticism there. There's some feelings of awkwardness or shame, or you don't want to be seen, or you've got gut issues that are just really painful and uncomfortable. And are you in a position to where you've tried all sorts of things? You've listened to everybody. You've tried their suggestions, and you're still stuck with where you are at. You've pretty much hit a plateau, and you're finding yourself even feeling more disgusted with the whole situation. Why isn't my body changing? Why can't I heal? What's going on? And all of these thoughts and emotions start running through your mind, and you just have hit the wall. You've got maybe medical expenses out the wazoo, and you've finally come to the place where you've said, enough is enough is enough. There's got to be something else. There's got to be solutions out there for me. So if this is you, if you're in that place, then listen to this episode, because today's conversation is for you. The way life happens, whether we like it or not, it's just the way life flows, is that oftentimes we have to be pushed to that edge, or the bottom of the barrel, or the end of our rope. However you want to describe that state, we have to be pushed to the edge until that's when we find that other options open up. We find strength within us that we didn't know that we had, a willingness to look at something different, a willingness to change. And it's that space of being willing to consider things you had not been willing to consider before is the very thing that opens the door for you to find your next steps and your next answers. And this is most especially true when it comes to looking at what we have been taught, what we've been conditioned to accept when it comes to today's medical system and how we define healthcare. It's become quite obvious in the last 70 years, especially in the last 3 or 4 years since the era of COVIDiocy hit, that we are really beginning to see the inner workings and the objectives and the agendas of the healthcare industry. And it's being presented to us in a way that for some catches us off guard, and yet for others exposes what we knew in our gut was there all along. We just didn't want to look at it. So in order to find new answers, I'm encouraging you to step back and look at the situation that you are in with new eyes, and really look at what is, especially when it comes to all of the social pressure, all of the literature, all of the stuff in the media, the education system, everything that you have been taught, even the biases of your family, all that you have been taught growing up about what you are to do when something goes awry with your health. We've been taught that we need to run to the doctor, get a drug, pop a pill, allow somebody to cut into our body and remove pieces and parts. We have been taught that we are supposed to allow and give consent to someone to give us radiation, which is straight up poison. So after all of this trial and error and especially what we've seen in the last 3 years of how people have been treated when they were stuck in ICU and told to be on a vent and all kinds of other things that if you've been paying attention to for the last 3 years, and you pretty much can fill in the blanks here. When we look at what the healthcare system is today, the behemoth that it has become, we can see that it is the result or the creation of other people's minds. Those groups of individuals that formed and structured this industry to begin with. And they have, through the last 100 years, pulled all kinds of political influence through money and social pressure and lobbying in DC and all the things to get their point of view, their objectives and their agendas front and center for your eyes. They've bought off people, they've killed people, they've suppressed other people's ideas, they've suppressed other ways of healing and other ways of viewing the body. They have run massive billion-dollar media campaigns to get you to accept their agenda for their system that they want to shove down your throat for their purposes. I want to be very clear here that you really grasp what you are seeing and experiencing is the result of other people's minds and intentions, their creation. And for all of the corruption, all of the distrust, all of the failings, all of the misinformation, all of the things that you've experienced, that we've all experienced from this current conventional healthcare system that we have today, I'm telling you, the products of this creation, the results of this creation is producing exactly the very thing that the system was designed to produce. Let me say that again. The entities, the people, the groups that formed the institution that has become today's healthcare system had an idea in mind, an objective and agenda for when they were designing the system. They already knew what the outcome was that they wanted to achieve. So they rolled it out. And it grew and grew and grew and ballooned over the last 100 years. So that now what we see very obvious is that this system is producing exactly what it was designed to produce, meaning the corruption, the greed, the power-hungry people, a behemoth of this pharmaceutical industrial complex, where it's all about money, all about status, all about pushing an objective, a narrative. It has nothing to do with health. So when you are looking at this system and you are still feeling loyal to it, wondering why it's not serving you, why it's not producing the effects or the end result that you want, i.e. health and healing and wellness and longevity, it's because that system is not designed to give you those results. It never was. And I know this flies in the face of so much social conditioning, so much stuff that we've been taught, so many beliefs and biases and attitudes and everything that when people hear this, then they want to immediately reject it. And yet I'm telling you, if you have been pushed to the edge where you say enough is enough and something has got to change, if you are truly serious and at that point and truly ready and wanting something to change, you must look at where you have been. You must look at what the system is that you have been giving your time, your energy, your money, your loyalty to. And you must look at it with unbiased eyes to recognize this is producing exactly the results that it was designed to produce. It is a system that is set up to manage the progression of disease by suppressing symptoms through drugs, radiation, poison, and surgeries, of hacking into your body and cutting up pieces and parts and removing them. That does not sound very humane or even loving, or it doesn't sound like a system that is truly having your best interest at heart. It doesn't sound like a system who truly wants to see you thrive and be happy and healthy. Look at what is. Pull the blinders away from your eyes and look at the hard truth of what is. And I recognize this is something that for many, many people, that is the worst thing for them to have to do, to actually look at what is and be honest about it. If you truly want to learn how to heal yourself, you must admit and look at the state of things of what is and what you are plugged into, what you are supporting with your energy, your money, your time, your loyalties. And recognizing that that system is no longer serving you. It is not producing the results that you want to achieve. This is a quite obvious conclusion of, once you decide where you want to go, what results you want to achieve, if you're not getting it, and yet you keep over here doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again, maybe it's time to stop and step back and say, what am I actually doing here? What's actually going on? And that's what this conversation is for. We have been born into this healthcare system. It's been around for over 100 years now. Therefore, that's all we know. That's all we've been taught. And as such, we have come to the conclusion, I believe, that when we look at today's healthcare system, we think that it's immutable, it's indestructible, that it's the only thing imaginable, that's the only possibility in all of creation of infinite potential. This is the only solution that could ever possibly exist. I know I'm kind of exaggerating here, but I think you get the point. Simply because we were born into it does not mean that the system is infallible, does not mean that the system can break down, does not mean that the system is indestructible. And I think if you're really paying attention, then that is becoming very obvious, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, where so many people have had such horrible, painful experiences within the healthcare system. And recognizing how all they're being told is to give more money, to buy more pills, to have more procedures, to have more tests, and still the problem's not addressed, because the system was never designed to solve the problem in the first place. It was only designed to suppress symptoms. So once we get to this point where we can step back and really look at what is, and even studying the results and publications that the medical industry puts out themselves, like the AMA and the New England Journal of Medicine, where they state, in their own words, that Americans today are the sickest, fattest, weakest, and healthiest generation to ever have lived. And by their own admission, their own stats and research, and all their numbers that they love, they will admit that iatrogenic disease is the top 3 causes of death. What is that? Doctor-induced disease and problems and further injuries. Medical errors, botched surgeries, drugs that were given that weren't supposed to be, that did more harm. So when we can see this and wrap our minds around it, then we can step back and say, okay, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to respond? And when you're at this point of questioning that, that's when you have the invitation to actually tap into your own power. This is when you can start to think about, what do I actually need? What actually is going to work for me? And from there, you can say, okay, well then, what do I want? What do I want my health to look like? How do I want to feel? How do I want my body to look? How do I want to feel within my body? Do I want to be comfortable in it? Do I need to lose 20 pounds? Do I need to clean up my gut health? What is the thing that I desire? And from there, common sense says, you go out looking for the things that will actually produce the results that you want. To go learn from the people who are actually doing the things that you desire to do, rather than just blindly following along what you've been taught to believe about how to care for yourself simply because you were born into a system that does not have your best interest in mind. Recognize that at the end of the day, you and you alone are the one who decides what gets put into your body. You and you alone decides how you spend your money, who you see, what appointments you make with what type of healthcare practitioner. You decide. You are the one living in your body, not your doctor. You are the one who knows your body far more than anyone else because you are living in it. No one else is. You feel it. You intuit things. Trust your intuition. One of the biggest mistakes or travesties I feel that the healthcare system of today has taught people to do is to mistrust themselves, to believe that they're powerless over what happens to their body, that they have to look to an outside authority, i.e. their doctor, to tell them what to do, rather than looking within, trusting their gut intuition, being connected to their body to understand how it operates and what it needs. To have the motivation to go research things on your own. And I think more and more people are doing this, fortunately. And if you still find yourself hesitant, then I encourage you to step back and look at the results of what this healthcare system has provided. Is that really, truly what you want? Can you truly look at the results that you have received, that you know others have received, and in your heart of hearts, state to yourself in pure honesty and pure truth that these are the results of a system that works for you? Can you honestly state that this healthcare system and the drugs and the surgeries and the radiations and all the things, all the disasters, all the mistakes, is truly taking you in the direction of where you want to go? If you can't, then admit it to yourself, look at the hard truths, and step back and say, okay, I don't know quite what to do, and yet I'm willing to trust myself. I'm willing to reclaim my power and not just hand it over blindly without questioning to the system who is causing harm. I'm going to retract my money, pull back my loyalty, pull back my energy, no longer support this system, and I'm going to look for things that work for me. I'm going to learn to listen to myself, my intuition. I'm not going to be so swayed by other people, even if they're my family, even if they don't understand my choices. It's still my body, it's my life, it's my choice. I'm going to learn how to trust this. And I'm not going to buy into all of the pressure through the media and the people within the healthcare system that tell me I have to come back and do this and this and this and this test, and I have to fill all these prescription drugs that make me feel horrible. Pull back your power and put it where it is intended and designed to be, which is within yourself. That's where it originates. That's where it truly resides. Stop giving your power away. Stop feeling like you're helpless. You're not. Stop feeling like there's an outside authority or a doctor that knows your body better than you. They don't. Learn to trust yourself. So when you get to this point where you've hit the wall, like I mentioned earlier in today's episode, what is required of you at that point is to step off the metaphorical cliff and learn to trust yourself and learn to listen to your body. And that will take you into a whole new avenue of growth and healing. And it can even take you to the end result of what you actually want, which is vitality, health, a happy, quiet gut, energy, longevity, happiness, all the things. So with that, I hope this conversation today inspired you, give you a few things to think about, especially when it comes to understanding that we do not have to buy into the product of other people's minds, other people's creations, just because they've shoved it down our face. We can step back and create our own system, our own healthcare model for what works for us that is far more humane and less expensive. There's other options out there that exist. So that's the takeaway for today that I want you to walk away with. There are other options. And with that, in today's gift, giving you another option, my downloadable gift for you is a PDF called What It Takes to Really Heal Yourself, 4 different aspects or areas of yourself that need to be addressed. So you'll find the link to download that below in the description of this episode. I encourage you to do that. And I also encourage you to share this episode around with people who you know are in a stuck place and wondering, what do I do next? Who could benefit from what I've shared today. So like my channels, subscribe to my channel, like this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care.